Hello, my name is Andy Gilman. I'm with the Agora Foundation, and on February 23rd, we are going to read and discuss the book of Ecclesiastes from the Bible. I met today with Larry Shields of Thomas Aquinas College, who will be co-tutoring that event with Paula Riley, and we discussed some of the challenging themes of the book, what the messages of the book might be. So I hope you enjoy it, and to register for the event on the 23rd, please visit agorafoundation.org. Thank you. Every time we have a seminar, we have a list of a survey asking people what they thought of the seminar, and then we also ask them what they might want to read in the future. And Ecclesiastes has come up a few times that people have wondered about. And I think mostly because they find it puzzling. Or, any book of the Bible would be profound, but something maybe seems like disjointed compared to other books, possibly. I don't know, have you heard that before?
I've heard that before, and I can well understand it. Because if you've been reading the Bible, Old Testament, say exclusively, if you were Judaic background, or both Old and New, if you were Christian, and over the course of the years, a lot of teaching has been distilled and kind of packaged. And there are answers that are very deep and profound questions that have had answers supplied and then digested. And so it seems to me that when someone reads things, they're expecting to get the sort of clear, distilled, chopped up doctrine. And there are things in there that they think should be mentioned on the one hand that aren't. And there are other things in there that raise questions or trouble them. So I think it's a very understandable reaction.
So if we were going to go to some of the troubling part, so it's in chapter 4, and it says, and I thought the dead who were already dead more fortunate than the living who are still alive, but better than both is he who has not yet been and has not seen the evil deeds that are done under the sun. So that there's a Greek myth about catching a satyr, and the satyr has to tell the captor whatever they want to know. And what the king who captures the satyr asks is, what's the greatest boon for man? And the satyr says, you don't want to know. And he says, you have to tell me. And finally he says, to never have been born. And the next best thing is to die soon.
And that passage seems to be consonant with that,
doesn't
proposal.
It? Or does it?
In this sense, that if you sort of stand back a minute and look at the work as a whole, right? It seems to me that you're presented with a particular view of looking at the world as you see it and experience it at various levels, at various ages. What does just bare sense experience of the world teach you in your life, right? There are questions that are raised, not just that one, that's probably one of the more intense ones, but the questions of is there anything new under the sun that hasn't existed before? It seems that there's a cycle that returns again and again. Is there anything new to sort of completely satisfy the human being's desires and appetites, so they can finally say, now I'm at rest, and now I'm at peace, and now I'm satisfied. And particularly after experiences of disappointment, tragedy, injustice, all those sorts of things have happened to you, then there could be a time in which you would give that answer. That I wish this had never been at all. And I would never have consciously experienced these things, and I wouldn't have had these pains and anxieties. It would have been better for me to leave soon. So
I guess that if you said, let's say the death of a loved one or something like that, and or whatever, some injustice, let's say, I could understand that feeling, but I guess, at least the way some people would read this is more than just a feeling, but more like really your fate, your state. I'm not saying that's what the book is trying to say. I'm saying it seems one could say the claim is much bigger than the passing feeling.
But could I ask you this? When you say your state, do you mean your state at that particular moment? Or do you mean generally with looking back over your whole few days that you've had on this earth, right? Well, how many people are there that are inclined to take their own lives because they think it's going to end all this misery?
Right. I mean, there are some for sure.
There are some for sure.
Yeah.
And
no, I know and I guess maybe, well, let me read this other passage because it seems like here's do you have something you want to say?
Well,
yeah.
I'm kind of anticipating ahead, looking at the statement of the Lord with respect to Judas. He says it were better for him had he never been born.
Right.
So now we're moving, 400 or 500 years later in time with that particular statement.
Right.
But that's an interesting statement, right? Mm-hmm. And in that statement, you might notice it doesn't say it were better had he never been born, but it were better for him had he never been born. Mm-hmm. So it might be that it's better that he lived, but for him individually as a particular individual, it might have been better had he never been born.
Right. I get that. So. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you had to say, well, here is the main message that's being advocated. Enjoy life with your wife whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, because this is your portion of life, and in your toil at which you toil under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or thought or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol to which you are going. And that comes up a few places, like, enjoy the food, enjoy the drink, enjoy who you love, fear God. So this is your portion. Yeah. It's presuming there that God has given these things to you as a gift. Yeah. That life is a gift. Yeah. And don't be anxious about this beyond measure. Yeah. And that these are goods. Right? Yeah. And again, I think those would be recognized as goods by any human being. Right. And that's sort of basic and fundamental. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think there's I guess you'd have to parse it a little bit, but there's something like not even being clear about what an afterlife might be, right? So that this is your moment now that you're awake. There you are. That is, you brought in afterlife, right? Uh-huh. I didn't bring in intentionally that particular. Well, I'm thinking with Sheol, just thinking, there is something that happens, but it's not clear what it is. That there might not be a life there. In fact, it seems to even be suggested that it's a condition of darkness. Yeah. That is, there is no light in Sheol. Right? Oh, Sheol, okay. Mm-hmm. And I think also in Sheol and other places, right? Yeah. It says, the dead know nothing. Right. That's a striking comment, right? Right. But can you know anything in complete darkness in some way? Right. I don't want to be too particularly philosophical about that. No, of course. That's exactly right. Aristotle would say that life consists in activity, in human activity, and the highest human activity has to do with the intellect and will that presumably other animals don't have in the way that man has it. Right. But for Aristotle, one can't even think without having a phantasm. If you look at it, biologically, natural philosophically, you need the organs of your body in order to produce a phantasm. If that body goes into the ground, it doesn't look like it's capable of providing you with a phantasm. So it seems that there's nothing. Even if one might say that the question that's asked, who knows whether the spirit returns to God or goes down in one of the earlier chapters? Yes, which is it's interesting the way it's put there. It's a question. Who knows? Right? And if who knows on the basis of what you can see from your direct, immediate experience in the world, it seems rather obvious that you don't know those things. Human beings don't know those things. That is, that every animal, including human beings, they end up in the ground. There's no
clear distinction, and that just seems manifest to the
Yeah, I mean, that's
the
what it
senses.
says. Yeah, exactly. So then, it seems to me, you said it earlier, but those manifest goods, like enjoying your loved ones, working, eating and drinking and all that, it becomes even more precious, thinking that there's not an eternity, like you have a notion of eternity, but you're not going to be a part of it.
That's
Well,
marvelous. Yeah. So in a way, are you saying that that if one has no notion of an afterlife, then that's a good message, right? Even at that start, it seems to me that you begin and you kind of work little by little and see more and more, and you see more and more how the particular question that's framed in this particular work of Ecclesiastes, again, 400 or 500 BC, probably, according to what scholars think it was written, then those things are not evident to your senses and your immediate experiences.
For sure.
You have to be, those things have to be taught to you or revealed to you or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But now on the other side, let's say that one can escape in some way the situation at the time of the speaker. There's nothing new under the sun. What has happened that you see happened has previously happened. And what will happen in the future will be what has happened. There's nothing new under the sun. I believe that's said about 30 times or so.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that some of the key things that you're looking at is vanity on the one hand, and a striving after wind on the one hand, and that author that's preaching, I think, in some way to an assembly. There's nothing new under the sun. So could it be that something new might come to be under the sun, which would change everything?